Alright, so just earlier this week I put out a poll asking you what you want to hear about for the next videos. Now some of these options, if you didn't see this poll, they included things like care, training, puppy information, and for fun I threw in, who wants to hear more about Gus? Because why not? She's an awesome Great Dane. Now I was surprised, being a little bit less than a week in here, to see that requests for information and facts about Gus was actually the #2 item. So for fun we thought we'd just go ahead and record this video because it is, fun and easy and hopefully it's entertaining for all of you. One thing that I will say is that Gus is definitely a quintessential Great Dane. All of the Great Dane qualities that you can expect, you'll probably find the vast majority of those in Gus. But just to kind of dig into a few of these, if you haven't kind of heard before about her, Gus is indeed a girl, although her name is Gus. I know there's some confusion there. What this boiled down to is basically when my wife and I decided we were getting our next Great Dane, that we wanted their name to be Gus. Lo and behold, came to find out from the breeder that we were in line to get a girl, and we said, that's okay, we'll go ahead and stick with the name Gus. So if you weren't familiar with that story, that is the genesis of it. There's nothing else to it. Now, in addition to her name, Gus is a 4.5-year-old Great Dane. She was born in December of 2019. As you can expect, she's very much a leaner. She loves attention, all the kind of classical Great Dane things. One thing that's really funny and kind of a quirk about her is that from the time that she was a puppy, maybe only 2 months old, while she of course loved many toys, there was one thing in particular that really made her just calm and relax and just kind of settle down. And it wasn't a toy, but it was actually a kind of fancy green lap blanket. Now, while some dogs are prone to kind of tear these types of things up, and frankly we kind of expected this to happen anyway because it is just a very soft kind of plush blanket, what Gus would do is, and she actually stole this from my wife who used to keep this in her office to kind of keep her warm during the winter, is Gus loved to grab the blanket and kind of put it in her mouth, just a big chunk of it, and just kind of sit there and hold on to it. Now I think that probably when she was a puppy this just felt very reassuring to her, teeth that were kind of falling in and out and she was going through teething, right? It was probably comforting just to bite onto something soft, but here we are over 4 years later and we've still got the exact same green blanket. Gus sleeps it with every night. She'll actually take it from downstairs to upstairs and pretty much wherever she goes in the house, she'll carry this blanket around with her. So I think it's really funny and kind of cute that, much like a child might have their favorite stuffed animal or their own blanket as well, they kind of keep for many years, somehow this green blanket has managed to also survive with Gus. Gus, do you want to show him your green blanket? Let's show him. So there we have it. Here's Gus's green blanket. As you can see, it's seen some repairs. We've had to do some sewing operations every time to kind of keep it in one place. It's a little nappy looking right now. Probably needs to be washed, so it gets a little gross. But this is something that Gus loves and she sleeps with every night. And I don't know what we're going to do, frankly, when this thing sees its last day. Now, along the note of the kind of plush lap blanket there that we just showed you, another kind of interesting thing about Gus is that for her entire life here, whether she was dealing with teething as a puppy or even to today, she really tends to prefer the kind of plush soft toys. Now, most unfortunately only last a couple days here. She will on occasion chew on, different antlers and other harder chew toys, but for the most part, she's not really the biggest chewer. This will really vary from dog to dog, but it's just kind of interesting that Gus just seems to love these kind of soft plush things that she can, just kind of sink her teeth into and just kind of hold on to them and carry them around and show them off. Most unfortunately will have the kind of stuffing or innards pulled out after, a day or two, so they don't have that long of a shelf life, and once that happens, we throw it out because we don't want her to eat the stuffing. And of course at that point, once the stuffing is gone, she has no more interest in them. So unfortunate or fortunately, Gus is a lover of the plush toys when it comes to things to play with. Now, when I mentioned the kind of herding mentality that Gus will do to try to, keep the family corralled outside of the house when we go on walks, this actually also occurs inside the house as well. So because we have a finished basement, kind of the main floor and the second floor, where there's different bedrooms, different areas to hang out, Gus always gets a little stressed out, frankly, if our family kind of, separates. So let's say if the kids are kind of in the playroom upstairs, maybe my wife is on the main floor doing something and I'm down here, Gus will actually go floor to floor kind of every 10 or 15 minutes just checking on us just to make sure that everybody's okay. And then once she kind of feels safe that everything's all right, she'll usually actually sit in the middle. So by middle I mean, like, let's say if somebody's upstairs and we're on the main floor, she might sit on the landing of those stairs. That way she's kind of split the distance and she can try to keep an eye on either one of us. It's just kind of interesting how she kind of takes on this protective mode, tries to guard the family, keep an eye on everybody, just because she does love us and care about us a lot. Something similar also happens actually if I, travel out of town for work or something. Gus, while she's normally very chill, very calm, down to earth, doesn't really bark a whole lot. If I'm out of town, and this happens especially at nighttime, Gus will get very protective of my wife and our children. So let's say she hears like some kind of noise outside, or somebody comes to the door to ring the doorbell at night. She will bark and she will try to scare them off just because she's in that kind of hyper protective kind of guard dog mode. Now, of course, she's extremely gentle. I don't think she would ever actually hurt anyone if it came down to it. But it is just interesting to see how she's aware of kind of the surroundings of, okay, Dad's out of town, so I got to step up and try to protect the family here. Just another sign that, they are these amazing gentle giants, but when need be, they certainly are very protective and will, watch over their family. Now, if I am home, another thing that's kind of funny about Gus is that, let's say if somebody, maybe it's friends coming over, there is some kind of other visitor, Gus is very friendly. She wants to immediately be able to greet these people and say hi. Just because many people are a little, weirded out about this giant 140 plus pound dog coming, running up to them, trying to lick them, we always try to make Gus either sit on her bed that's kind of the furthest area away from our front door, or sometimes maybe even just kind of stick her outside if the people are, not really comfortable with her. What's funny here is that Gus will get really annoyed because she's so excited. She wants to greet people and say hi and try to sneak in, get some pets or some scratches. And that's one of the other few times that she'll actually kind of bark or make these little sounds like, woof, like, I got a seat of people. What are you all thinking? Let me in. So just kind of an interesting quirk. I think a lot of Great Danes who are friendly and well socialized probably have similar reactions where they want to be able to greet and say hello to people. But for the sake of the other people who might be not as comfortable with the situation, we often kind of force there to be a little bit of distance so that way they have time to, get used to the concept of being around such a large dog, even though she's the gentlest, sweetest thing there is. So some other funny quirks about Gus really kind of come down to what we do when we go outside the house for different fun activities. Many dogs, like us of course, like to go to the dog park to socialize with their other canine friends, or at least we used to before this COVID situation broke out, but I'm sure we'll get back there eventually. One funny thing about Gus is when we go to the dog park, she'll go up to any dog, kind of sniff them, say hi, try to get them to play, but one of her favorite games is playing chase. And I don't mean necessarily her chasing the dogs. She loves to be chased. I'm not sure if this is because she's kind of found out over time that she's not the quickest, nimblest of dogs. So if she's the one doing the chasing, she has a really hard time keeping up with most dogs. But when it comes to getting other dogs to chase her, she loves it and she will go bonkers. So she'll often try to trick other dogs into playing chase with her, where maybe when she's friendly, they've kind of greeted and are having a good time. She might try to chase them for 5 steps, and then you'll see her do a 180 and try to go the other way to try to encourage them to chase her. And for some reason, that's kind of one of her most fun games to do at the dog park, is try to get other dogs to chase her. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of dogs are a little kind of off-put just at the sheer size of, her being a Great Dane. So while not every single dog will indulge this, when it does happen, it's something that's, pure joy and she just loves it. Now, if we're at the dog park and there aren't a whole lot of dogs, or maybe there isn't a dog that's willing to engage in these chase games with her, one other funny thing that she'll also do is, let's say if there's, tennis balls laying around or something, is she has this really fun game where, of course, if I try to play fetch with her for a minute or two, she'll do that until she gets tired out and kind of stops doing it. But the game that she will actually play with on her own and entertain herself is kind of like this prey situation. So if you've ever seen a video of a fox in the wintertime and they're kind of crouched down, you'll see them pounce in the snow, and underneath the snow there's a little mouse or something, or if there's a video of a cat and they're kind of batting around something back and forth. Gus will actually do this with a tennis ball. It's so funny because you'll see her just kind of pawing at the ball, trying to make it pop up and wobble around. And once she gets it going, it's kind of bumping. It's almost like she's playing with kind of smacking it to keep it rolling, chase it, smack it again. It's just really funny seeing, tennis balls are probably about the size of my fist. So a decent sized ball for most dogs, but Gus's paws here are probably bigger than the tennis balls. So watching her kind of bat this around, it's almost like the human equivalent of watching her play ping pong or something, but she's obviously playing with herself. So very entertaining, not just for myself, but I've had many people at dog parks or just the regular park, if they see her doing this, they think it's the funniest thing in the world to see a dog as big as Gus kind of playing with herself and kind of pushing this ball around back and forth. So a few other things about Gus that are also kind of interesting are, one, that in the morning time, if she's kind of feeling extra protective for some reason or the other, sometimes she will actually choose to not eat her breakfast until she's had the chance to kind of check in on everybody, which can actually take some time, because my wife and I wake up at a certain time. We've got the 21-month-old who wakes up at his own time, and then the 4-month-old. Frankly, we're going to let that kid sleep as long as he can, so who knows when he wakes up. But it's funny how Gus will kind of go into big sister mode, and sometimes if she's just feeling kind of worried about everybody, she actually will hold off on eating her breakfast by sitting outside either our door or one of the kids' doors until she's had a chance to kind of check on them and make sure they're okay. And once she does see them, she'll go back down and eat her breakfast. But for some reason, she only does this in the morning. I think it's probably because she's gone through, let's say she slept for 8 or 10 hours at least every night. She's, just wants to kind of see them and make sure that they're okay because it has been so long, and then she'll go off and eat her food. Now, of course, once she's eaten her food, the other kind of fun activity, and this is a very Dane thing here, is that she'll eat her food, she'll probably drink a good amount of water, and she'll come back all kind of happy, and she'll have all this water kind of pouring out of her mouth, and that's one of her favorite and most opportune times in her mind to come and stick her head in your lap and try to get some attention, or maybe if you're sitting on the ground, just kind of stand over you and let that water drip onto you. Very Dane maneuver here. It's not obviously just all drool, it's mostly kind of water caught in her jowls that's kind of pouring out. But very Dane thing, something that Gus probably gets a lot of fun out of doing to us, just saying, haha, I got some drool on you humans. Now, in another video a while back, I mentioned that Gus is afraid of very kind of strange things at times. One of the scenarios that comes up is during Halloween, when you have the kind of those big inflatable blow-ups that people often put in their yards. For some reason, Gus is very afraid of these, but kind of a more common day thing that kind of is a strange thing to be afraid of is, let's say we've just taken out the trash and you're opening a new trash bag to get it inflated so that you can kind of put it in the trash can. Just that act of kind of simply giving it a quick flap to expand it so it's easier to put in. When it makes that kind of pop sound, Gus for some reason will take off running. Now, I don't know if it's just because that sound maybe hits a certain frequency that kind of messes with her ears, because dogs have better hearing than humans, but something about this really simple and very common act that we humans probably bores us to death. It's something that can really scare her, so we've learned to try to be careful about how we open it quietly, which, granted, getting 2 pieces of plastic unstuck isn't always the easiest thing, but it's funny to see something just so common that happens at least every other day. Even Gus here, being 4.5 at this point, still kind of scares her a little bit. So something we try to avoid to not scare her, but just know that you're going to have your own kind of different quirks with your Great Dane as well. So some things you can train out of them, some things you just kind of learn to live with because it's not that big a deal at the end of the day. Alright, so now that was kind of a rambling list of just random facts here about Miss Gus, but I thought based on the popularity of that request for just hearing some more information about her, hopefully this lets you feel like you kind of know Gus a little bit better. So that way, if you were to happen to see her on the street one day, you'd feel like you know her a little bit better and she's exactly as you imagined or would have thought. She is a wonderful Great Dane, and we love her, and we hope to have her with the family for many more years here. So we will certainly cherish her until then. If you did like this video, make sure to give us a like down below. Let us know maybe some funny things about your Great Dane and what you love about them as well. And on that note, if you did like this video, also make sure to go ahead and take a look at this one up here that we'll put up for you to watch next, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Otherwise, until next time, stay Daney, my friends.